Hey everyone, this is Reddit Family Secrets. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'd love to know your thoughts about this story and what you think about the characters and their decisions. Share your thoughts in the comments. Enjoy the story. I didn't come on here to be dramatic. I came on here because if I say this out loud to someone I know, it becomes real in a way I'm not ready for. And because I keep replaying one sentence in my head like it's stuck on a loop. My wife zipped up a dress she'd never worn for me, checked herself in the mirror, looked straight at my face, and said, "You always accept things, Ethan. You may as well accept this too." And I nodded like she was telling me the weather. What she didn't know was I'd been listening to her lies for 22 days. And what I'd learned was going to burn her entire new life to the ground. My name is Ethan Mercer. I'm 45. I've been the head of security at Rivergate Commons in Charlotte, North Carolina, for almost a decade. Before that, I did loss prevention for a big box chain. I'm not proud of how good I am at noticing small changes in people, because the whole point of that skill is you notice what others miss. The irony is I spent 2 years missing what was happening in my own kitchen. My wife's name is Melissa. We met at 29 when she was working the front desk at a salon, and I was the guy who always came in on my lunch break looking like I just wrestled with a shoplifter. She was funny in this sharp, effortless way. She made fun of my work voice and told me my laugh sounded like an old truck starting up. I fell for her because she made the world feel lighter. We got married at 33. We had 2 kids, Noah, who's 14 now and thinks he's allergic to family time, and Ava, who's 8 and still reaches for my hand in parking lots like the world might steal her if she lets go. For a long time we were normal, not perfect, but stable. Bills paid, weekend pancakes, school projects, a life that felt like it was ours. Then Melissa started getting quieter. Not in a sad way, in a private way. Her phone stopped sitting face up on the counter. It started living upside down, always. Like a little decision she didn't want to explain. She stopped laughing at my jokes. She stopped asking me about my day. She started saying, "I'm tired," in a tone that didn't invite any follow-up. And for a while, I told myself the same lie every guy tells himself. We're just in a rough patch. Because that lie is comfortable. The night everything snapped into focus was a Thursday in early November. I walked in after a long shift, shoulders tense, feet aching, and the house smelled like hairspray and perfume. Melissa was upstairs in our bathroom with the door open, standing at the mirror like she was preparing for a photo shoot. Not errand makeup. Not "I have a meeting." Full foundation. Liner. That careful lipstick she never wore unless it was a wedding or a funeral. She had on a fitted navy dress I'd never seen in my life. I stood in the doorway without speaking. I watched her eyes flick to me in the mirror. She didn't turn around. Noah was in his room pretending homework was a concept he might consider later. Ava was downstairs drawing in her coloring book, humming softly like she always does when she's content. I clear my throat. "Where are you going?" Melissa kept fixing her hair like my voice was a distant sound she decided wasn't important. "Out." "With who?" "Friends." I waited. That word, friends asterisk, used to mean something. It used to come with names, stories, laughter. It used to come with "I'll bring you something back." This time it came with nothing. I didn't argue. Not because I didn't care. Because I've spent enough years watching people lie to know that when someone is committed to a lie, your questions don't stop it. They just teach them how to hide better. I went downstairs and made Ava a grilled cheese. I sat with her while she told me, very seriously, that her teacher was secretly a mermaid but hiding it. I laughed at the right places. I nodded. I played the role of normal dad. But the whole time I felt this heavy, cold thing in my chest like someone had tied a rope around my ribs and pulled. Around 8:15, Melissa came downstairs in heels. I don't mean nice shoes. I mean heels, the kind that announce your intention to be noticed. She walked into the kitchen, and I turned to look at her. She looked good, like she'd put time into it, like she planned it. That's what hurt the most, how deliberate she was. She reached for her purse and keys, then paused at the doorway, like she was deciding whether to deliver a final line in a play. "Don't wait up," she said. "I won't," I answered. She smiled like that was funny. Then she tilted her head and said it, casual, almost bored. "You always just accept things, Ethan. You may as well accept this too." I stared at her for a moment longer than was comfortable. Then I gave her a small smile and said, "Have fun." Melissa's eyebrows lifted, just slightly, like she'd expected me to beg. She walked out. The door closed, and the house went quiet except for Ava's marker scratching across paper. That quiet is where I decided I was done being stupid. I didn't start with rage. I started with facts. 2 days earlier, before that night, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Sam Rios, a private investigator I knew from my retail days. Sam was the kind of guy who didn't waste words. He wasn't dramatic. He treated every situation like a problem that could be solved with patience and paperwork. I told him I thought my wife was cheating. He asked, "Do you want to know? Or do you want to pretend?" "I want to know," I said. So we started documenting. No grand spy movie stuff. No fantasy. Just the boring, devastating work of proof. Over the next 3 weeks, the picture came into focus. Melissa wasn't out with friends. She was meeting a man named Caleb Danner. I learned that name the way most people learn the truth, by accident at first. One afternoon, Melissa left her tablet on the couch, and a notification popped up. Not a message preview. She had those turned off, but a contact name. Caleb D. I didn't touch the tablet. I didn't open anything. I just stared at the screen like it had slapped me. Later that night, after she fell asleep, I sat at the kitchen table and looked at our bank app. Melissa had always managed the bills. She liked being in control of it. I'd called it organized. Now I looked at our savings account and felt my stomach drop. There were withdrawals I didn't recognize. Small enough to blend in. Large enough to matter. $900. $1,200. $1,850. Not once or twice. Over and over. Always on days I worked long shifts. Always spaced just far enough apart that they didn't scream. I printed everything at the bank the next morning because I didn't want screenshots that could disappear. I wanted paper that existed in the real world. When I added it up, the total was just under $16,000 over 15 months. $16,000 taken out of the life we built. It wasn't just betrayal. It was theft. I sat in my car in the bank parking lot with those pages on my lap, and I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at the numbers like they might rearrange themselves into something less ugly if I stare hard enough. They didn't. That same week, something else happened that made my blood go cold. A guy I supervised at Rivergate Commons, Derek Shaw, made a joke in the break room. "You look tired, Mercer," he said, grinning. "Melissa keeping you up?" He said her name like he knew it too well, like it was comfortable in his mouth. I laughed, because that's what you do when you're trying not to show your hand. But the second he walked away, I knew something was leaking. Someone at my job knew my schedule, knew when I was gone, and was feeding that information to her. The worst part wasn't even the suspicion. The worst part was realizing how many people were in on humiliating me. Sam called me that Friday night. "I've got enough to confirm the meetings," he said. Same guy, same place, consistent pattern. "Who is he?" I asked. "Caleb Danner, mid-40s. Works in regional sales. Travels a lot. Married." Sam paused, like he enjoyed letting the silence do the damage. "Yeah," he said. "Wife's name is Paige. 2 kids. Lives outside Raleigh." Melissa wasn't leaving me for her soulmate. She was leaving me to be someone's side quest. I sat on my back porch staring at the dark yard, and I felt something shift in my chest. Not relief. Not peace. Something colder. Clarity. Because once you realize someone is willing to destroy your home for something that cheap, you stop hoping they'll suddenly become a better person. You start planning like they won't. That's when I contacted a family law attorney. Her name was Elaine Brooks. She didn't sugarcoat anything. She didn't speak to me like I was fragile. She said, "If you want your kids protected, we need documentation, not feelings." So I brought her the bank statements, the timeline, and Sam's preliminary report. Elaine looked at everything and said, "You're ahead of most people already." Then she asked, "Do you think she's planning to leave the state?" I didn't know, until I found the bag. It wasn't hidden under floorboards or anything dramatic. It was in our garage behind old holiday decorations, shoved where you wouldn't notice unless you were looking for what didn't belong. It looked wrong, like someone had arranged it quickly. I pulled it out and opened it. Inside was a men's toiletry kit that wasn't mine. A pair of men's dress shoes that weren't my size. A thick envelope. And cash. Not a little. A lot. I counted it later in my car, hands shaking so hard I had to stop twice. $4,600 in bundle bills. In the envelope were 2 plane tickets. Charlotte to Denver. Departure, December 21st. Passengers, Melissa Mercer and Caleb Danner. For days before Christmas, my daughter had been circling toys in a catalog and telling me, Santa needs to know early, Daddy. My son had asked if we were still doing the Christmas Eve movie night like we always did. Melissa was planning to be on a plane, and she wasn't planning to tell the kids until she had to. I took photos and put everything back exactly how I found it. Then I sat in my car and breathed like I'd been punched. I wasn't just being cheated on. I was being set up to be the guy who didn't notice, the guy who didn't care, the guy she could paint as passive while she walked away with money and a story. That weekend, I tested my suspicion about Derek. Elaine warned me not to do anything that looked like retaliation, so I didn't confront him. I didn't accuse him. I did what I've done my whole career. I set a harmless trap. I updated the shared internal schedule at work to show I'd be covering an overnight shift on Tuesday. I wasn't, and only a handful of people could even see that schedule. Tuesday night, I was home at 6:30, sitting at the table with Ava while she practiced spelling. At 7:10, Melissa walked into the kitchen with her phone already in her hand, eyes too sharp. I thought you were working overnight, she said. I didn't even look up right away. I kept my voice calm. Shift got reassigned. Melissa blinked once. Just once. And she forced a smile so fast it was almost impressive. Oh, she said. Okay. She turned around and started doing something at the stove that didn't need doing. And in that moment, my suspicion became a fact. Someone saw that fake schedule. Someone told her. She acted on it. Derek Shaw wasn't just a coworker. He was an accomplice. That's when I stopped playing defense. I filed for emergency temporary custody. Elaine moved fast. Faster than I expected. She didn't waste time. Within days, we were in front of a judge. Melissa came in looking polished and confident, like she thought she could charm her way through consequences. Her attorney tried to frame everything like marital conflict and privacy concerns and misunderstandings. Elaine laid out the numbers like a timeline carved in stone. Withdrawals, dates, cash stash, tickets, documented meetings. And then, because life loves a twist, Melissa's mother called me the night before the hearing. Her name is Lorraine. I hadn't spoken to her in months because Melissa had been slowly cutting her out too, calling her dramatic and controlling. Lorraine didn't sound dramatic on the phone. She sounded tired. I'm not calling to fight, she said. I'm calling because I found something, and I can't pretend I didn't. She'd taken screenshots of Melissa's messages that popped up on her iPad, messages about money and timing and asterisk, after the holidays we file. Asterisk, Lorraine emailed them to me with one line. Protect my grandkids. I forwarded everything to Elaine and didn't sleep that night. At the hearing, the judge granted me temporary custody. Melissa's face didn't crack right away. But when the judge mentioned possible intent to relocate, something in Melissa's eyes shifted, like the floor she'd been standing on suddenly wasn't there. Outside the courtroom, she hissed, "You're taking them from me." I looked at her and felt nothing. Not hate, not love, just distance. "I'm keeping them safe," I said, "from chaos you created." Melissa's mouth tightened, and she repeated that same line like it was the only weapon she had left. "You always accept things." I leaned in slightly and said quietly, "That's what you misjudged." Over the next week, things started unraveling for her in ways I didn't even have to orchestrate. Sam called me. "Caleb's wife found out," he said. "Paige's family is involved. It's getting messy." Then Elaine called me with something worse. "Your wife's attorney filed paperwork," she said. "Melissa was planning to accuse you of financial control and emotional intimidation. She's building a narrative." I sat down because my legs suddenly felt unreliable. So that was the plan. Steal money, book a flight, disappear right before Christmas. And if I fought back, paint me as the villain. I wanted to throw up. Instead, I did what I've always done. I documented. A week later, I ran into Caleb Danner in the most absurd place possible, the grocery store, right in front of the coffee aisle. He recognized me immediately. He tried to play casual like we were two dads who just happened to bump carts. "Hey, man," he said, voice low. "I don't want drama." I stared at him and saw exactly what he was. Not a romantic hero, not a rescuer, just a guy who liked easy things. "I'm not here for drama," I said. "I'm here for coffee." Then I paused and let my words land. "But you should know the court knows about the Denver tickets, and the money, and you being married." His face tightened. For the first time, he looked scared. "You told." "I didn't have to tell anyone," I said. "Evidence tells the story on its own." He swallowed. "I didn't know she was taking money," he muttered. That was the funniest part. Everyone involved wanted to act shocked at the consequences. I pushed my cart past him and didn't look back. That weekend, Derek Shaw quit. He turned in his badge and said he was moving for family reasons. Sure. 2 weeks later, Rivergate Commons audited a section of employee access logs because, once Elaine raised it, I couldn't ethically ignore what Derek had been doing with internal files. The audit uncovered something bigger than my marriage. Derek had been pulling scheduling info, yes, but he'd also been accessing inventory reports he had no business opening. And suddenly my personal betrayal became part of a wider investigation. Melissa called me after that, voice trembling in a way I'd never heard before. "What did you do?" she demanded. I almost laughed, because she truly believed I'd been passive for so long that she thought my action had to be a conspiracy. "I didn't do anything," I said. "You did. You and the people you chose." She started crying, real crying, and for 1 second, I felt that old familiar reflex to comfort her. Then I pictured Ava's little hand in mine at Christmas lights. I pictured Noah's face when he asked why Mom didn't come to his school thing. And that reflex died. "I never wanted this," Melissa whispered. "That's not true," I said gently. "You wanted it. You just didn't want the cost." The final custody hearing happened in mid-December. Melissa showed up with a softer look. No more power outfit. No more smugness. She looked like someone who'd realized the fantasy was collapsing. Elaine walked in with a folder that felt heavier than any weight I'd ever carried at the gym. We didn't need theatrics. We had the timeline. The judge granted me primary physical custody. Melissa got structured visitation and a requirement to attend co-parent counseling before expanding it. The judge also ordered an investigation into the missing funds. When the ruling hit, Melissa didn't explode. She just sat there very still, like she was watching her own life from far away. Afterward, in the hallway, she said quietly, "Caleb won't even answer me now." I stared at her, and there it was, the final insult. She wasn't grieving the marriage. She was grieving the fantasy. "Melissa," I said, voice calm, "the kids are going to remember what you choose from here." She looked up, eyes glossy. "What do I do?" she asked. And that question almost broke me, because it was the first honest thing she'd said in months. "You start telling the truth," I said, "even if it makes you look bad. Especially then." That first Christmas without her in the house the way it used to be was strange. Not empty, just different. Noah pretended he didn't care, but I caught him staring out the window more than once. Ava asked me, "Is Mommy mad at Santa?" I told her, "Mommy and Daddy are figuring things out. But you're loved. Always." We still did lights. We still did our Christmas Eve movie night. I burned the Denver tickets in a metal bowl in the backyard while the kids slept, and I watched the paper curl into ash like it was never real. Over the next months, the consequences kept rolling. Melissa had to sign a repayment plan through the court. Caleb's wife filed for divorce. Derek Shaw got quietly charged in an embezzlement case tied to the mall's internal theft. That part took time, but it happened. And slowly, my house became steady again. Not because the pain disappeared, because I stopped pretending. A year later, I'm sitting on aluminum bleachers at Noah's basketball game, Ava leaning against my shoulder with a hot chocolate in her hands. Noah makes a shot, and Ava squeals like he just won the NBA Finals. And I realize something that's hard to admit. I used to think accepting things was strength, endurance, being the calm guy. But accepting betrayal isn't strength. It's self-abandonment. Melissa thought she married a man who would stay still while she rewrote his life. She was wrong, and I don't say that with pride. I say it with relief, because the best thing I ever did for my kids wasn't catching her. It was finally choosing not to accept what would have destroyed us. If you're reading this and you feel that quiet, heavy wrongness in your chest, the thing you keep trying to talk yourself out of, don't. You don't need revenge. You don't need to explode. You need the truth. Because once you have the truth, you can build something real on ground that doesn't move. And that's the only kind of life worth keeping.